How did the Carrolls get wealthy? Did the Carrolls own slaves? Where did they come from, or were they converts to the faith?
They came from Ireland.
Who are the Carrolls?
The Carrolls are a very prominent family to this day in Maryland. They produced a signer of the Declaration of Independence, Charles Carroll of Carrollton. His cousin, John Carroll, who was the first Archbishop of Baltimore, first Bishop of Baltimore, and John Carroll's brother, Daniel Carroll, who I believe was very prominent as well, and he was also the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Maryland of the Freemasons. But they're a very, very prominent family, still are. One of the very few remaining colonial land grants, Donegal Manor, is still in the hands of the Carroll family, one branch of them, because there are a lot of them. Mm-hmm. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, when you're speaking of these colonial families, if they're not extinct by now, they're huge. They got members all over the place. But the Carrolls were, they were from Ireland originally. I forget the origins of their wealth, but they were given large grants of land for tobacco and all that by Lord Baltimore. And they played a very prominent role in the colony. Many of them apostatized. Many did not. Mm-hmm. But Charles Carroll of Carrollton was the only Catholic signer of the Declaration of Independence. All of his children married non-Catholics, and none of his direct descendants today are Catholic, to my knowledge. His cousin, John Carroll, our first Archbishop, he was the fellow that went on a trip with Benjamin Franklin to Canada to try to get the French Canadians to switch allegiance during the Revolution. They failed, and he got a local excommunication of the Diocese of Quebec, which is why when he became bishop, he had to go to England to be consecrated rather than going up there. But when Pius VI asked Benjamin Franklin, the most notable American of the day, for advice on choosing a bishop for Baltimore, he suggested John Carroll for the very good reason that in all the months they'd spent together, going to Canada and coming back, never once had Father Carroll mentioned religion.
That's such an important anecdote because it's so representative of our clergy from the very beginning.
Well,
don't make waves. Don't challenge people. Don't talk about religion from the very beginning.
From the beginning. And he had a lot of interesting ideas. He wanted bishops elected until he became one. Then he suddenly became very zealous of the authority of the episcopate. I don't know why that was. And he very much was against the Latin liturgy. So, fortunately, things were such that his views there didn't mean anything. You know, at the end of the day, he did set the tone for the American church in a lot of ways. For good and for ill, I suppose. But as far as the Carrolls owning slaves, you bet. Slave owning was something that virtually every individual or institution of wealth had. Universities owned slaves.
Whoa.
Huh? The Episcopal Church owned slaves. Everybody owned slaves that had money. The vast majority of people not having money, of course, did not own slaves because they were very expensive.